Hi, this is Mia. It is now 6:42, and I didn't say the dates of the other two videos, so three, whatever I made today. I forgot to, oh, I do have water. Okay. 2/23/17. So the 23rd of February. Um, I I was gonna explain. I had shared this, and it's kind of a silly explanation again. I had a code word for myself when I said, getting real, I'm getting real. And it started as my audio recordings on my phone, try to like talk through some stuff. Or at first it was nothing to do with, it was more, first I started recording for um, studying for school. So I could listen to my notes being read. And then, because I would listen to classes, but then, like, a lot of our classes were 3 hours long. Well, even with, but I would just, like, condense what I could, the important stuff. And then I liked, even if I didn't always listen, which I usually did, I liked how I had to say it out loud to kind of be like the aha moment, the light bulb. And um, the getting real means, when to myself, if I was, I never do this, I keep saying, if I was going to edit, I would edit and cut out music that's in the background. Or if the TV comes, sometimes I turn the TV on the way in while I'm recording, and I forget that it's turned up from the night before. Like, I just don't want a copyright violation. I actually, I saw someone else's video. I was going to do this the other day. The first YouTube video I ever made, I posted was, it took several years to get my turntables back together after leaving a relationship where all of my equipment got left. We basically fled with the clothes on our back. And I mean, the material items were material items, all the records from when I was a kid, all the way up to all the techno records and stuff I've collected around the country, all got left, and all the stuff I bought here in the Pacific Northwest from record stores. And my ex-husband would use our tax return to only buy DJ equipment, which sucks. When you have kids, I feel like you should save some for your kids and buy them the clothes and stuff. Anyways, but whatever. I don't know. It's tax season now, so just let you form your own opinion about that. And I was so excited. I finally saved up for record needles, and it was the most ridiculous thing. This place was sold out. It's cheaper. It wasn't cheap, but they were inexpensive compared to like $200 or $90-something for one. And I ordered them, and they're like, what is it, back ordered? And it was back ordered like 3 months, 6 months. So I was like, these guys are crazy. I'm going to reorder them. And then I immediately get this email saying, this is a duplicate order. Like, I think it was a computer generated. You already ordered the exact same thing. Let us know. We're not going to order it for you unless you tell us that you actually want a duplicate, just to double check. And then I got the product. So I was like, gosh, they probably forgot about my back order or something. And I went and I filmed it for the first time. I put this record on. I think it was a German. I have a lot of German stuff in my. We have an affinity for Germany, Sweden, and I was told by a prophet. They thought I was Latin American. And my mom had an affinity for Native American stuff, and she was part Irish. I don't know. I was saying that for some reason I had a lot of. Anyways, I think it was a German record that had multiple songs. I don't know if it was that one or not. Well, whatever it was, boom, I got my first copyright violation. And the next one, I had my really old Samsung phone, and I was sitting here filming, and I dropped the phone, and I was like, oops, 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 and I pick it up. It's on the ceiling, and I go like this, but it had done, or like this, I don't know. It had done the screen, when the screen automatically rotates. So it turns the camera upside down. And I'm sitting here, right where I am, and I'm filming, and then I realized, after I got a violation immediately, that they said that it was a copyright violation. It's basically me talking like I am now, but it was upside down. And so basically you saw my face, you saw it fall, you saw the ceiling, and you saw my face upside down. And it was a specific person or group, and I fought it, however you do it, like I said, no, this is an issue, this is me, there's no music in the background, there's no singing or TV or any, like the artwork is, it's our artwork from my family, it's my family's art, like paintings, these paintings are from my child and stuff. Anyways, it was freaky, and I fought it, and they're like, if you dare to go third time or if we go through this one more time, you're going to get fined all this money, and you're going to go to court, and if you pursue this because you are a liar. And I was like, oh my God, besides the fact that they canceled. So I just let it go, and I hate that when people, I replay, it tells you where the copyright thing, so it was basically, when I picked up the phone, and it was my face, I was like, good God, someone's got a copyright on my face. Which they might. Maybe I should have researched it. So I think it's like 3 strikes you're out. So I saw somebody else do that. So I am going. I don't know. I got all paranoid. I'm going to put my email address in this video, or I mean, I'm sure if you put a comment, I'm going to put my email address. It's Mia, I believe. Sorry. MIA.orange, ORANGE630 @gmail.com. MIA.ORANGE630 @gmail.com. And I was going to do this the other day. In case something happens, I have to make a new channel or something, because I got really paranoid about that. Like even having the window open and have somebody pull up with music or something, and I don't, like, oh wait, what, people got in trouble. They didn't really get kicked off. They would like film at Christmas time, and the music coming through at a grocery store or at a dollar store, and they would try to talk over the music, and even though it was muffled anyway, but they were getting restrictions and had to edit over it. But at least they got like a warning and not all this like, I don't know what they got, but I have to be careful. I mean, yeah, the first one I was like, oh shoot, I didn't even think. I was like so excited about testing it and putting that down and having the ability to connect everything like I used to. I was a DJ in Michigan. Is where I learned. I used to go to Canada and Michigan to see shows, okay, because I was like dancing at shows. I've gone into Canada. I've gone into. I went to New York for something else. I went through to Louisville, or like it was outside to dance parties, and then in Oregon, Washington. I have no idea where, because I don't know the directions. And then in Portland, when I was still nursing, I really had to cut my nail. I would DJ at my own place live for people, for house parties, and I had some really crazy stuff. Like people could like, I would just like tweak things so much, and I'd have like this, like it was just wild. I have none of that equipment anymore, except for my original turntable I got in 2000, maybe, or 2000, something like that. Might have been 99. And I didn't even get both of them back. I only have one of them. And a lot of my records, my ex-husband broke, or my instruments were broken, my guitars were broken, my speakers he'd blow out. Like I was just like, this is how you use this device. This is how you use this electronic. And he would just be like, yeah, right, you're an idiot. Maybe it's because I was a woman. I don't know. And he'd like blow this thing up, and you're like literally smoking. And I was like, I told you. And what hurts is like he never really like replaced or anything. It's like I just destroyed. And my mom used to do it all the time, destroy my junk, but on purpose. So I have this, like, oh, well, that punching bag mentality, like, oh, well. And it was so hurtful. Like, it's a material object, but it's like, why do they keep doing this to me? And then, like, not like, they don't fix it. They just, like, blow you off, like, you're an idiot. But I played at parties here at other venues. I didn't try to go, like my ex-husband, I taught him he was going to do something at an outdoor party, but they kind of skipped over him. His was a little bit more sane than my music, and I went through and would play at parties, and not very much, because the thing was I was a nursing mom. So the kids would have to go, and, like, if it was a house party or something, and I had to, like, not do much because I had to do it around nursing kids, and if it was nighttime, then we'd have to find somebody where the kids could sleep in the bedroom and stuff, like, make sure they're safe, because who knows who's going around that house. So I didn't do it that much, and when I started getting, after the people started hearing me in my own in the apartment, forgive me, neighbors next door, after they started coming to my house and playing, they thought it was pretty wild. So then that's the beginnings of when I got invited out as a DJ. Now, that was like one of my dreams. I don't know what. Let's throw in there. Age 7, I'd hear this, like, old school rap. And my brother was 8 years older, so he actually bring home records. And I'd hear the scratch, DJ Scratch. And I thought that was so cool, from the late 70s and early 80s. And I had, like, all these records of my brother's when he left 45s. Like, I'd have, like, Kenny Rogers and stuff. Like, literally, I was like, I don't like this one that much. And I would try to, like, do that scratch. I was like, it doesn't sound like those guys on TV. Until I learned in the 90s that you have to have a certain kind of record, and then you got to mix, and then you. So I was really into that, based on a childhood fantasy. And then when I left and fled in 2004, it just fell apart. And I shared one time about going to a community group, me and my kids, and it was somebody spoke and people talked, and then we went into the big room. I'm not sure if I think we started in the big room, I don't know. And it was at a clubhouse place on the other side of the river, which before gentrification happened again, as it happens over and over in this town, there was a lot of African Americans, but it ended up like, boom, as soon as, like, the time, like right now it's almost 7, as soon as, like, that first group ended at, like, 7, like, literally, the lights went off, a disco ball came out of the ceiling, and the light went on a disco ball, and the guy was up there doing hip-hop and talking in the microphone, and I was like, I was with this woman, and I was with my kids, and I just burst into tears, because it had been, I don't know, at least a year or less, or more, I don't know, since when I left my ex-husband, that music was connected to that, and then the grief of leaving behind stuff that I had, the records and stuff I had as a child, the Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5 stuff that I had from when my parents giving me that very first record, and, like, all of those. But the biggest thing was, like, the music, because that's what was going all the time. We take turns. I've got pictures of my kids on the turntables when they were infants. Like, you see people with their kids doing what they're doing. Like, you're riding a bike, your baby's strapped to you, or, and it's like, and they're riding along. So it was basically like, I have pictures of my son, like, jamming like this as, like, a 2-year-old with all these beaded necklaces on and a girl's sweater. It's one of my favorite pictures. So it was like the disco. I mean, even it was a little bit different music. The disco ball, the DJ, the microphone, it just, like, boom. And then slowly after that, I was able to build, I mean, we were, like, still considered homeless, but we had a roof over our heads and different housing programs. So I slowly pieced together. I had, like, a big record player with 8-track and a bunch of stuff, and I was going to take it with me, and I moved, and I left it out with the mop, and everything got stolen, basically, when I was moving that stuff, and I was like, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have left something out, like, I don't know, it was, like, kind of in the ghetto. I was like, that was, like, my stuff. It was on my porch. It wasn't, like, on the street with a free sign next to it. They literally drove up and stole my crap, but that was a big old bulky thing. I kind of wish I still had it. And the video that I'm making right now, I had the idea earlier when it was still light out. I kind of wanted to film, but I had to work a little bit, and I had to go do a home visit, and then I had someone helping with some food that my kids usually don't eat, and they kind of were like, we don't want this food. Or they did or they didn't. And I was going to leave it out. This is decaf green tea with that raw honey. That's not the honey that I usually drink, but I went to Target during a snowstorm. In my town, if it snows, this town shuts down because they don't maintain the roads, and it's really hilly and it gets really icy. there was so many wrecks. This winter, oh god, I would just like, and I would see and hear them around, like crashing around me, and my kid would drive home and be like, there was like 20 wrecks right next to my car, right, the car she got. It's crazy out here. It's like, it's icy, it's twisty turny, it's wet, and it's nasty, and it's not that terrible compared to like somewhat like a blizzard or something. It's not like, but it's like the conditions make it unmanageable. So I had got this big thing of honey and this other thing of honey and this other thing of honey and then my regular honey. So I'm like, oh, I shouldn't. With tea, it's easier for me to drink different honey than with my cocoa. I like my regular stuff, which is the YSB Farms organic, or sometimes they're non-organic because it's a little cheaper if I can actually find it. So I was going to start this video a few minutes ago. I got really tired, and I'm like, I gotta stay up all night. I have so much to do, and I have my weekend job to work, and I am doing my like a bunch of stuff on my to-do list, and I'm like, oh my god, like I am like swamped, and I'm not feeling too good, and I feel like I could sleep from now till 24 hours later, like, and that's not something I typically do, but right now I just feel like I don't feel so good. But I trudge through. I say that, but I've been like that like my whole life. I'm just like, ugh. So I wanted to make this video because I'll start talking about my past, and then I'll try to be like, oh, sorry for saying too much information. I don't want to share this, and then I'm sharing it because I've had people come back later and say, oh my god, thank you for giving me a little of your story and talking about some of the resources you use because they were able to get out of a really dangerous situation. So I continue, or even someone gets in a discouraging, I'm in some very discouraging situations with no support. So I make it because when I was searching YouTube for videos on some of the issues that I was dealing with, I didn't find anything. And so it is what it is, you know. And I wanted to share real fast the catalog here. Sometimes my mail, like I told you that sometimes I've woke up in bed with my coat still on and still fastened. That's how tired I get sometimes. Just yeah, it's just like I'm finally home. Thank God I didn't crash. And like, and I a couple times have like just fallen asleep with my shoes and my coat. Like that is how bad I get. And I'm a single mom and I don't have a lot of help. And this is really old. Yeah, so I'm looking at this because I'm like, sometimes my mail just ends up like being set down like on the shoe rack, and it's like this is from like 3 months ago, and I'm like, seriously, really. But that's why I brought it in here, because I have the recycling right here that I need to. It's almost full. I got this much left to fill it up. I'll get to where I start like being shifty-eyed. I've had somebody stole my money at the bank, and I got shifty-eyed because I got really uncomfortable because they were glaring at me. And I was so used to being treated poorly because of racism, and I was freaking out by their dirty looks. And they said that I was lying because of my body language. But the problem is, being from a lot of abusive situations or relationships, I'll get like uncomfortable because I will tell the truth about something in hopes of kind of not exposing the other person, but kind of trying to see where I'm coming from and what healing, what I'm doing to heal from the situation. I say I'll pray and meditate, and I'll just say, I'll try to make it complicated, but it's really some simple things to build a foundation of a new life, which I shared in the last video. So I'll get like shifty-eyed, and I'll be like, oh my god, I'm like really like nervous talking about this, and I'll be like, oh my god. So I wanted to explain that. I have a lot of, this is almost embarrassing. I have a lot of relationships with really abusive people and really narcissistic people. And I know that this has started at a young age, so that was my normal. And I know that there's a lot of sick people in this world, but that's your comfort zone, then that's your comfort zone. And you also attract that type of abuse. I'm not saying you, but I did. And somebody healthy, when we talk about racism and stuff, or foreigners, somebody healthy might be like, wow, like somebody having really evil motives might act nice and give you gifts. So somebody with truly good intentions that are trying to give you gifts or be helpful, for me, it was shady. It was like they are trying to get something from me. It's too good to be true. There's got to be strings attached. So I would actually, and I still do that, I will be like, oh, it was nice talking to you. And then I'll pour out all this stuff, all this baggage about my life, trying to scare them away. And if they are really like spiritual and loving, they'll be like, that didn't scare me away. Let's hang out, or let me buy you, let me buy you a basket of groceries for your kids, or let's go have tea. And I will like, maybe I'll go, because I'm like, dude, I complain about not having friends, and then I'm trying to purposely sabotage a friendship by pulling up all this baggage. I can pull up all the baggage in the world, and it's not necessary. Like I said, some of it is because of that experience, strength, and hope, and the resources. My resources might not work for you, but the reason I share that is I was in a near-death situation multiple times in certain relationships and with different people, and I was told by somebody, and I shared this before, to call the Women's Crisis Line, which is no longer called Women's, it's called like the Portland Crisis Line or something. I don't know. Call some crisis line, tell them your story, then they'll give you resources. Call them, tell them your story. So I'm going to attribute that because one person told me. I never heard of a crisis line. I never heard of a woman's support line. I've never heard of a DV shelter before. So it made me aware, and it potentially saved my family, which is me and my kids. I get like shifty-eyed because I'm still fleeing some of these people. I mean, until the day they're dead. Some of these people actually are dead, and they have been. And I walked on eggshells and still like allowed myself to be a punching bag up into the very end. And I felt like that was my role, and that scapegoat and that punching bag was my role. So I just probably I definitely didn't have any boundaries, and because of social media and blogs and YouTube and even my business, when I register my business to the state, it becomes public information. When I got my state license for my 1 degree, I was like, of all the different things I have, I posted at the time my home address, which I've been hiding for a long time, as my mailing address. That becomes public information. And I was like, crap. Now with the internet, it's really hard to hide from that. And even stuff, like I had one of my school schedules posted publicly online, because I search my name every so often, which I'm really terrified to do it right now, because I just feel like I don't have time to be fearful about people infiltrating my boundaries by using this as ammunition, Knowledge is power, right? And if someone abusive has knowledge, they can use that against you, right? So I will get like shifty-eyed because I'll talk about something truthful in the hopes that if somebody is really needing help, I've called a place before and said somebody has threatened to hurt me and my kid, and they've placed the blame on me. I was calling in order to try to get a protection order, etc., etc., and they basically tried to say that it was illegal, and this person hadn't seen my kids in years, or even me, but there was some distance issues between me as an adult and this other adult, and it made me afraid to call. So I always say that disclaimer. I was afraid to call these strangers in these hotlines. But at the same time, I mean, the reality of it is, when you're in abusive situations, they make you feel like everything's your fault and that you're a criminal. When someone says they're going to investigate you because some idiot threatened you and there was kids living in the house at the time, then you have to just, say, look at my scarf. It's like, this is, people think that I'm like, sometimes people think that I have a lot of money, but I hide the holes in my, hide holes in my clothes, and I don't really replace them, so at least I can laugh about it. Yeah, I think this one has holes in it too. Sometimes I just tie it in knots so that you can't see the holes. That's typically what I do, hide it, but eventually I would hope to be able to. A lot of this stuff is very, very used, like hand-me-downs or resale shops and stuff, but anyways, yeah, to be careful, but if you're having someone who's holding a gun to their head and threatening you and your kids, it could be a life. It could, and I have a life or death situation. So I don't want to go into detail right now. It could be beneficial to call that number when you're, they say when you're in a safe spot, and be careful when you're doing the internet, because then the abuser can come back and check your history, and that is ammunition against you, because they'll lose. If they lose you, they lose that narcissistic fuel or that abusive. That you're basically like, yeah, you're someone's punching bag. You're their fuel. They can't sleep without hurting you. And I don't know. I'm not that type of person, and I don't know why that is. I don't know why this is. So I'm like so itchy. But sometimes I talk about stuff that makes me really uncomfortable. I get really itchy. Now, I've had this very biasedly, but I want to present it in an unbiased way. I'm changing the subject because I wanted this to be short. I had an MD doctor, been a doctor for many years. Plus, I don't know with MDs what if you do residency and fellowships, and then your years when you're, wow, that's a lot of years. I'm like itchy. This happened a lot when I talked about abuse. There was a patient that came in who had a mask, and they were kind of living out in the country where there was fresh air. And I don't want to say anything else about it. They didn't like perfume. They didn't like chemicals. They didn't like smells. They had special things, special food. And we had gone in the back to call the therapist, like, what's wrong with this lady? There's no such thing as chemical sensitivity. And everyone laughed about how crazy this lady was and how they didn't like that perfume and this and this and this. And I don't really want to go into a lot of detail. And I said, wait, I'm a naturopathic student. I don't know if I had become licensed by now. Well, I would say a student because I was a student there anyway, shadowing for different type of programs. Like, apparently, I think I keep going for all these goals because it distracts me from the reality and the pain of the past and the loneliness of dealing with the pain alone. But anyway, it's a different story. And they had brought up a slight question of, it's not uncommon for someone who's been very abused to have a lot of sensitivities. And then I had one of my naturopaths tell me that because I was beaten so much as a young kid, when my body's developing and the so-called primitive reflexes that babies have growing in out of those, as adult humans lose our instincts and our primitive reflexes. She was like, you have a super hypersensitive, like you're hypersensitive to like touch and sound, and it's like noises are bothering me. I couldn't take a test in a room full of people because they were shuffling papers, and like my eyesight is like really good, and I would be so sensitive. It's like, oh God, someone brushed up against me with their clothes that they use a certain detergent, and I will literally break out in hives. Even if I'll look down, I'll go to the bathroom, like, what the heck happened? Like, oh shoot, I remember the person next to me. Like, they went to grab their jar of tea, and they brushed up against my bare arm, and then I go in the bathroom, like, why the heck do I have hives? So she was trying to say that I was hypersensitive and amped up in my reflexes, because if someone's coming at you and you're growing too, because your DNA is growing, or your body is shifting and growing, and you're developing. But these two were like, oh, it's not uncommon. There's a sweet couple, like, it's not, and you don't know their past, for people that have been abused when they were younger to be chemically sensitive, and they were making fun of it, and I knew that my institution where I was going to school was a scent-free, because people were having allergic reactions, even to essential oils. But I went back to this place to do some community stuff, which I still do, and I did training this time around to go into a different role at this institution. It's like, scent-free, 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 no, nothing, not even essential oil, be careful what kind of shampoo you use, and all this stuff. And I ended up, I ended up kind of thinking about why people are the way they are, and I know that this is not set in stone. There's people that do have peanut allergies, or do have intolerance, or GMO. What is GMO causing things? And I used to eat meat. I don't eat meat. And I was vegan for a while, but I tell you, I have honey. I have some cheese because it has the fattiest fat, and I don't eat much because I have low income. So I get the fattiest fat because it has more calories and all that stuff. And then I balance that with fruit, and I don't do as much vegetables because it's expensive, and I'm working all the time. And raw vegetables, I have to like rinse and tear up. Carrots, I like to get the whole ones with the thing, which me and my brother are supposed to be sharing. And I have to clean them and scrape them, and I'm like, ah! I still do it, and I like it like that too. At least it lasts a little bit longer. This lady answers her text like after many days, which is okay. And I had to say in my mind, like, oh yeah, I do have friends. I do make friends. I'm a friendly person, but I'll shut people off. But yeah, I get nervous because I went into hiding many times. I went to a DV shelter. I was told to get a restraining order and all this stuff, and they're like, I went and got unpublished numbers, and I couldn't put the kid's name in the directory, so they started missing all the birthday parties because people would go to the directory to send the invitations, and it was a nightmare. And I continued to do that, and I would like be scared when my kids were in plays, because they would put them on TV. Their school plays were pretty big in this town, and I would go to the cameraman and be like, can you blur that kid there and that kid there? Like, I literally would stand by the cameraman and be like, he's like, don't worry, they're so far away, and I would just freak. So when I make these videos, I'm like, it's public, who knows if these people are watching it. And because it's abusive, toxic people, it makes me feel like that it was my fault that these. And people will say that, even like cops and sometimes social workers will be like, yeah, if your fist wasn't, or if your face wasn't on the other side of their fist, then you wouldn't have got hit, right? So it's your fault. You shouldn't have been in that house. You shouldn't have been in your apartment. You shouldn't be, And it's just so much, like, people always say, don't call yourself a victim, don't call yourself a victim. But what's even worse is, like they say, call yourself a survivor and all this, and move forward and know that God loves you. But I hate when people call you the reason for the abuse. When you're walking down the street, someone punches you in the face because they're crazy. Why is that my fault? I didn't look at them. I didn't talk to them. I never saw them before. Why, if someone stole my car a few years ago, why is it my fault? I found my car because the cops never came. And then when they came, it was late at night, and somebody drove my kids to me, and we got robbed. Everything got robbed out of the car except for the car seats. Thank God I didn't take the car seats, because at least I could get home. And the cop was about to pull a gun on my face, because she says, oh my God. And plus I'm black, and I'm like this, in a dark parking garage. I'm not like this, because I didn't have, I probably was wearing, all dark rags. And she was like, I was about to shoot you. So I thought about that more this year when I got rid of the bulk of the toxic people from April 2016 to now. I started thinking more about the gratitude of, oh my God, I was lucky that my kids didn't watch me get shot by a cop. I got that, I got more self-love, oh wow, I care about my body. I've been used as a punching bag physically, mentally, and other ways I don't want to think about. I'm thinking about it, I just don't want to say it, for so many years. And I was thinking today before I pushed record on the video, why is it that, like, I was like, come on, I need a better life. Other people around me got a fancier car. Every 3 months they got a bigger, better, shinier car. What? Like, I'm just like, what? I asked my kid, you're good with these kids. Find out how their parents are getting all this. Find out how they're getting like such beautiful hair. Find out how, you know. She said, sorry, I didn't get. So I was like, oh, she's probably apologizing for not responding. I'm like, what? I see these people like 3 weeks after I left a 25-year narcissistic abusive relationship. I found my soulmate and we moved in together and we set a wedding day. I was like, what about me? 3 weeks, like 3 months, 3 years. I'm like, why am I still like this? So I get like a little bit nervous, like apparently itchy, talking about abuse. It just makes me really nervous because I feel like in the past, these people would always say it's your fault. It's your fault that I hurt you. It's your fault that I broke your guitar while you were sleeping. My mom, it's your fault that this glass broke at 3 a.m. when I went to get a glass of water and dropped it in the sink. And so I'll get this fear that I'm like publishing, like, oh, and I basically feel like, yeah, I survived. A survivor, when you survive, I survived a car accident 3 years ago, 2014, and it was more like 2.5, and I'm still healing from it, and I have to be patient with myself and know some people walk away from accidents, some people die, and there's others in between. I have to realize that there's an in between. It's not all or nothing. Comparing or watching. I watched these videos, like I said, as part of how did they do it? Did they journal? Did they go to support group? Did they, go join a card group? Do people do that anymore? Playing cards in bowling leagues? I don't know. So this is what I'm going to end with. And I was going to ask people some questions. This is what I want to end with. I've been not paying my bills either. I think it's like I get this self-destruction where I'm just like, who cares about anything right now? But then I'm like, oh god, like, Jeff, I better do it, because then I really don't want to play around with, like getting my services shut off. Yeah. So sometimes I just forget. Excuse me, sorry, I drank all of that. That tasted really good. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like so itchy right. This happened, like, you'll see me on a lot of these videos, and that's another reason I'm saying that, where I'll just be like, and I'll like literally start getting like red and stuff. The videos I shut off, safety reasons, I shut off stuff. I stopped vlogging. I stopped posting pictures. I stopped using Facebook. I'm not using Messenger. I ought to actually get onto Facebook and just plow through and pretty much just delete everybody. There's not really one person that I want to talk to on there, and my securities were really high, so I would have had to, I don't know why, maybe friends of friends could have found me. Anyways, I should clean the slate and just be friends with these new, healthier people, and control it more in my favor, like, control it more in a safe way, instead of avoiding something which I don't really want to use. I don't want to be addicted to Facebook. It was a lot of, there's a lot of rude comments coming towards me, from relatives and people that I've barely seen at all in 40 years. And it got really, I grew up in a different culture. I went to different schools. I dressed differently. So there's a lot of negativity. My kids don't look like their kids. And so that basically, I feel like some of this I'm raising because of business. The business people, my business teachers, like, keep up on all of the modern stuff. Keep up on the Twitter. I have a Twitter account. I think I'm Mia Orange on there. I can't remember. Keep up. People are like, keep up on your social media. Doesn't necessarily have to be personal one, but business one would be nice if you have running a business, and I am. Keep up on the times. This is how people are communicating. This is how people are finding out about your talks. they're going to follow you, and they're going to see. And they told us even, from early as 2009 about social media, and it's not just sending a mass-produced email or sending this. It's about keeping up with Instagram and all that stuff, and the technology that you have. Do you have the Skype or the, whatever you can use, HIPAA compliant, different forms of communication? And they're saying keep up with all that. These people are a lot older than me. Maybe, well, they look older than me. They said, yeah, it's going to change as after you graduate. There's going to be more and more technology. Keep up on all that, and also keep the rules in mind. But I've shut off all that stuff because of safety reasons. And unfortunately, I've had several business owners, a couple women business owners. They said, yeah, my business started slow. I was struggling. They might have a partner that was paying the rent. They're like, boom, as soon as somebody taught me, or I paid somebody due to social media, like my business got so busy, like I'm overwhelmed, but I'm making the money I'm supposed to be making, and I'm working with the clients that I'm supposed to be working with, and they just pretty much was some of these people 100%, 180 turnaround with 100% due to social media. And it's unfortunate to have to be in hiding and have to keep my address out of stuff, and like not have the kids be invited to these parties because people can't find my kids. And the people that their kids like, please, 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 let these children, they would literally go to the office, have to get out of the car, walk in the office, hand them the invitation, and tell the secretary, can you please deliver it to this child? And sometimes, they forget. I'd walk in late, tardy, because we drove from the ghetto to this part of town to help keep my kids at their school with their friends, and they would be like, oh, wait, we have this invitation. Sometimes it's like the day before the party. But, I mean, there was a couple people that did that, and I'm kind of sad that I feel like it's affecting the kids, but missing parties and not getting invited to sleepovers is very unfortunate when you feel unsocial already. But having these people come after us that are psycho, that have been in and out of jail even after I left them as a victim, survivor, knowing they have weapons, knowing that they know how to use those weapons, and that they have the resources to, stake out outside. I've known people that have had their exes stake out outside of their apartment, drinking, hiding in the bushes, for days on end until they finally got the police or someone to get them to a shelter and go in hiding. I've heard many different stories going to the shelter systems, and a lot of times, the third place we moved, the third temporary housing we moved, a murder happened that first week, and a lady from church had a van, and she helped us move, and a murder happened, and all the guys said, yeah, because half of the women in that apartment were married, and it was so lucky. I always think that it's like the grass is greener on the other side, but they were married with kids. Everyone had to have kids, but it wasn't always just single parents. And they were like, yeah, we took the garbage out, or go out and work on the car, and this guy was stalking this lady across the street, and he'd be in our dumpster corral, hiding all the time. And then that week I moved, because they pieced it together after the murder, and the Salvation Army Church was across the street. They were searching the field for the murder weapon and all this, which was right where I parked my car, and all the police were camped out. So, like, this window, not here, but the last place. Or actually, they tore down that place, and I moved into the new one right across the street where the murder occurred. And that was a domestic violence stalking issue where she fled her abuser and left. And I don't know if she got the piece of paper. You can't shoot me because I have a restraining order, but it hurt my heart because I've called a lot of police programs. I'm like so itchy right now. Police programs that help you make a safety plan, and they've never really helped me. And I even know from some dangerous issues with people abusing their children outside of my front door, they won't come, and I had a social worker help me figure out. I don't want to be like, it's like being a whistleblower. You don't want to be that person. I've had it happen, and I've been a mandatory reporter for many years. Back then, I didn't think about it. My first thought was, this kid might be a jerk, and you feel like they probably learned it from their family, who's beating their skull into the cement, and they're screaming at the top of their lungs. I called the cops. I called child welfare. I didn't want to be that whistleblower. But the last thing I wanted to do was look out the window, see this happening on multiple occasions, and watch this girl get taken away in a body bag. That would have broke my heart if I knew. Like, this girl was 5'4". She was really smart. She became good friends with my daughter at the time. My daughter was 6. Yeah. Oh, they were really smart. We were like homeless. They were making plans to be like scientists, and they were thinking of these science projects. I was like, dude, you guys are like 6, and you still have T-size clothes. You guys are still toddlers, yo. I was like, yeah, but I saw her being bashed, and they're like, the social worker's like, you have to use certain words, or we won't care. And what happens, including with DHS and having them help me, taking classes, I volunteer to take classes to find jobs, stuff like, your employee has a right to call the police and find out how many times you call the cops. And are you that neighbor that's always calling the cops about weird stuff? Like, they will put you at the bottom of the list because you're like a whistleblower. You look, and it's not about what crimes you committed. It was about what did you report and how many times in the past 5 years. And it's crazy stuff like that. But I like had to swallow my pride and say, if I see that child being taken away in the body bag, she's innocent, young, she can't defend herself. It broke my heart what was going on, and I could never get through. And we actually had a social worker come call with me. She was working with me, trying to get me out of poverty. I'm still in poverty and homelessness and temporary housing, which I'm still in 12 years later. But she she was on the phone, and she went to the bathroom, and I was talking to the person. We were on the phone for over an hour, being on hold, placed to someone else. We were just like, we just want to find out what wording. And she got some clues, but she's like, let me transfer you. She went to she's like, I have to go. And she went, put me on the phone. The next person gets on, and I said, oh yeah, my worker has been talking. And they freaking put me to this deadline, like, hi, this is April 3rd, 1996, and I'm no longer working at this branch. If you need help, please call this number. You're like, no. Because you go through that little web of being forwarded to here and here, and it just ended the thing. But I was scared. I did that with, you can't just call 911 and say there's a bad guy with a gun outside my door. Like, how many crazy calls? You have to use certain wording, especially when they can see your address. We've always lived in like a slum. They can see your address. If I call from the suburbs, they'll get there quicker than if you call from predominantly minority neighborhood that's a poverty-stricken area. It's really sad. My cousin got robbed in Detroit. I was like, did the cops come? Like, cops? Ain't no cops coming out here. What? Like, she was like, why would you even say that? Well, to end this, and it's kind of a question, I have cut off videos. So I had that accountability club, and I was sharing about my experiences in removing toxic people and removing myself from toxic institutions and stuff, and how I was doing. I feel good. I feel like I'm living my life. I was going to say renewing my life, but I feel like I'm living it for the first time. Excuse me, like this permanent shell had been on me, and I actually finally broke it and dissolved it. But there's still a lot of guilt. And there's still a lot of comfort in being that punching bag. There's still a lot of guilt with not allowing these people to continue to do that. And I'm not saying, like, if I pray and meditate right now and God says pick up the phone and call these people, that I will say, yes, I would do what my higher power and my heart tells me. And I also know because of insanity, going back and doing the same thing over and over again, I've done that for 39 years with the same people. And people similar to them, and it always is the same insane results. And the thing that changes, I change, but if they don't change, they don't change. And in fact, they get worse, and they use more of that knowledge about you against you. So there's a couple more people that I've hesitated. I'm like, these people suck me. There's 3 people. They suck me dry. Someone's trying to get help with this one thing, and I feel like what I was sharing this morning when I prayed about was, what happens when your morals get compromised because you're trying to protect yourself from these abusive or crazy people? When you're associated with these people, your morals, your honesty gets warped. And, like, they'll say, oh, yeah, can you sign this thing and help me with this program I'm in? I'm going to do A, B, and C because that's part of the requirements, and they never do A, B, and C. They don't even care. They blow you off, and it's like, then you feel like, okay, I need to be done. Like, you just think, oh, there's this justification, there's this excuse, there's this, oh, it's my fault that they're not doing this, and then it becomes a, like, kind of like, feels like, I don't know, it's like, A, you're protecting yourself. So say someone punches you and you like defend yourself or punch them back, you're basically hitting someone, and that's not your intention. But if you weren't around this person in the first place, you'd be walking down the street, walking your dog, going to get groceries. You wouldn't be worrying about getting a fist fight. See what I mean? And I have 3 more people, at least, in my life that are, there's been a couple that try to call me that I ignore. And the snowstorm happened and people got hurt, and they're like, my friend died and this and that, and then I'm like, oh, poor person, let me respond, and then it becomes that insanity again. So I'm getting to the point where, and that's one thing. There's about 4 people I can think of. The farther away from the big ones, everyone is a big one. The farther away from it, the more I feel like I'm starting to heal. It feels like a very slow process, and it feels like every time I'm starting to heal, it's like breaking open the wound again. It's like a lot of little, like, people can get little things that will kill them. Viruses, bacteria. Not always the big boulder falling on your abdomen. It's also something little. E. coli, like, you know what I mean? I can't take this lightly. The other thing is having a lot of people that never cared a thing about me for decades talk to me a couple times, and then I'm like, they are not my cup of tea right now. I can't handle their abusive nature. I don't have the energy for it, and it's wrong anyway, but I started losing the energy trying to defend myself and try to build up walls all the time to protect my sanity. These people are getting extremely aggressive and in a Christian style, in a polite style, and the wording is very intricately manipulative. And they're still breaking through my boundaries. And I believe that they're breaking through my boundaries to try to get me to react and respond so that they can hook me in, reel me back, and start the process. And I was down feeding the rabbit, and I said, that's the thing. I thought in my mind, that's the thing. How many times have you let yourself be reeled back in? How easy was it to get away? Each time was harder and harder. Each time they had more knowing your weaknesses, knowing your, what do you call it, like pushing your buttons, or it'd be like, the more you're around someone, this happened to me before, the more I was around somebody, back when ATMs became popular, the more likely she was going to see my PIN number, and she stole my card at one chance, that's the first chance she got, and used my PIN. So the more that I went shopping with this person, because she's, oh, let's go shopping, let's go to the bar, let's go to the ATM, let's get candy, the more that she did that, the more vulnerable I became. And unfortunately, back then I didn't think of covering the key back, because I thought standing in front of the ATM would be enough. But she got me. And I should be more careful. It's like a wake-up call, tap myself on the shoulder. That happened in the 90s as well, which was that bank stealing thing. But it's like, you just feel like the more that they're around you, the more they find out how they can use you for motives that they're not cool, they're not clean, they're not good, and not only are they not good, they're harmful. The person who robbed me of this money, I know the whole story. I pieced it together so well and so perfectly, and then when some of the truth started coming out based on stuff she admitted a year later, and I didn't really confront her. I don't know. It was hard. It's really difficult because I was used to being like, you want to beat me up? Go ahead. I'm not going to call. I wouldn't even think of calling. Like, it's one of those things. But it got to the point that she lied so much, and it got so crazy when the police didn't believe me that they actually threatened to arrest me. And I know exactly who stole my money. I know the amount of money that was stolen, and I know that she went and had an abortion at that point. It was like, before I even found out some of the rest of the story, it was so obvious. Because you know, when you're a student in college, there's certain people that come into your room and certain people that. So it had to have been one of those people. They stole it from my room, and there's only like 3 people that have been in my room. Anyways, long story. It was really easy to find out who did it, and she actually, before the police could question her, she actually left town. She skipped town. Oh, God. I just hate going to this. But what sucks is having somebody be criminal behavior against you, and then you end up being threatened with imprisonment because somebody did wrong. Like, it's happened to me with these people, and they can intricately make up these crazy lies, and, like, I don't know, and if you're not a criminally minded person, you don't really think of things like, oh, I better have an alibi, oh, I better, you just think, oh, okay, I'm a student, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to sleep at night, I'm going to take my tests on time, and, you don't think a lot about protecting yourself, about this type of stuff. And I mean, I know that's why there's articles in the news, and your bank will say protect your password and your email accounts and all. And I know now they're telling us don't do that scam thing, that Nigerian scam thing, or that bank thing. Oh, honey, I need to borrow $1,000 and I'll give it right back. All this stuff. That's why you hear people reporting, you hear other people's stories. But unfortunately, God, it sucks when somebody commits a crime against you and then you end up in trouble. Or you have these bloodsuckers that use you for something, and then they, like, blab all this stuff, all these lies about you to society, and mess up your reputation falsely. Ugh. I'm like, I feel like if I was on the outside looking in at what I'm saying right now, I'd be like, dude, you know what you have to do. You have to cut the contact with these people and figure out what to do about the Facebook. And I guess I have to remind myself, like I said earlier today, I was sharing at a big group. Somebody asked me to speak last minute at this group, and I said, back in the day when I was an abusive person, I thought you could just do this thing, get enough energy, do this thing, stay up all night, you never have to do it again. So I think I got to do a bunch of dishes, I never have to do it again. No, you got to continuously work on it, change, you get better, more efficient. Even if you become older and handicapped and you're shaking, you still you still just don't give up, and you still do it. And that if that takes you all day to wash one plate, and you're retired and you have your house set up so you can pay your rent every month, then you just keep doing it. And you don't just, I mean, sometimes you have to give up and you have to have a caregiver wash the dishes, but it's like I don't have that all or nothing. I'm trying not to have that all or nothing attitude. So it's like honing in on, okay, I cut these people, but my higher power might tell me to communicate with them again. These other people are kind of borderline because they didn't punch me in the jaw, but they done more damage to me than it's worth already. And so I just got to keep on changing it. And sometimes I just don't like change, or I feel that I have too few friends to be this judgmental. I hate that word. Um. Anyways, I think on the outside looking in and even saying it out loud, like I did with my recordings for school, the light bulb is coming on. The light bulbs come on again, over and over. But what happens is, even if you block them, I don't know how sometimes stuff gets unblocked on a phone, they'll start the process again. They'll start sending messages, hey, what's up, been thinking about you, and they'll call, and you'll be like, oh my god, this person was such a jerk last time, and the time before that, and the time before that. It's like, now they're trying to reel me back in, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and it's what I did, which is a problem. If you say I don't feel like hanging out, be the nicest person who gives you flowers every week, and you might be like, something doesn't feel right about this, and they don't have to even be harmful. You could just have a choice. I don't want to hang with you, or I don't have time, but I think the worst thing is, like, I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say. I feel guilt about not talking to these people. It's a problem. The more I started cutting these type of people out of my life, the more friendly people came in. And people still get psycho and grumpy and crazy and, like, tantrumy, and I'm like, dude. But I have this overall sense that this person is pretty chill most of the time and okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and check one of my new friends. That's actually one of my coworkers, but she was so nice and smiling, and it's good to be around people like that, even if they have their grumpy days. Just to remind me, we're in a world together, and we're all learning together if we choose to learn. And so far, these people in the past, yeah, I've brought up, like, what you did that last time really upset me, or it wasn't, like, not professional. It wasn't, like, a very unfriendly thing, or you bailed on me, we made plans to do this, and you didn't show up. Next time, can you please let me know that you're not coming so that I don't have my whole week changed because of you? I brought this stuff up, so I have a problem with that. Trying to make sure they understand, like, I want to be friends with you, but can you do this or not call me at 3 a.m. or whatever, unless it's an emergency. And then they totally blow you off and be like, it's 3 a.m., I know you're asleep, but can you tell me, like, what's the bus that goes on Powell? I'm like, dude, I know you have a good computer. I know you have a smartphone. Dude, seriously, are you kidding me? Just go to Powell and look at the freaking bus stop and see what bus it is. It's number 9